I wanted to look at a few more low impact exercises for beginners and give kind of some pros and cons of each specific one. So one of my favorite cardiovascular exercises that is low impact is a rowing machine. Now, a rowing machine is great for a few examples. One of the first ones being is that it is actually a full body exercise. So if you're not familiar with the rowing machine, I actually have some videos on my channel that you could go check out that will tell you how to use a rowing machine properly and how you can use one with limited mobility. But the rowing machine is full body and it works your arms, it works your legs, and it also even works your core a little bit. So that's one of the things I really like about the rowing machine when it comes to a low impact form of exercise. And since it is a full body exercise, it burns a lot of calories. And when you're trying to lose weight, if you're able to burn more calories per day than you eat or take in, you are going to 100% lose some body fat and lose some weight. One of the things that I don't like about rowing though is that it is very hard to multitask. And when I'm doing cardio, I usually like to try to find forms of cardio that I'm able to multitask in. So for example, multitasking would be being able to actually pick up the phone and talk to somebody, or scroll on social media and post some stuff on, fitness tips, right? Maybe I'm able to even watch some Netflix or something, and you can do that on a rowing machine. But the point of this is that since it uses a handle, it's not completely hands-free. So if you're somebody who likes to multitask during exercise, it might be something to consider for yourself. Swimming is another really great low impact form of activity, and especially for older adults and seniors that I work with, they really like using swimming because it kind of can help to ease some of that arthritis pain. And there's actually some specific pools designed. So if you're in an area that has a lot of different gyms, see if there's a heated pool. And if you're somebody with chronic pain and arthritis, those heated pools can give some really good relief. Plus, you can, of course, get some good cardiovascular exercise and activity when you go to those pools. And you could just do normal lap swimming as well. The big problem with swimming though is that it's really hard to access, and for a lot of individuals you might not have a gym that actually has a pool, and if you do have a gym that has a pool, it might be an extra cost, and you might not be somebody who wants to spend an extra cost at a gym for simply getting a pool for yourself. So that's something to consider as well. Also, there is kind of some fear associated with swimming. I used to be afraid of swimming for the longest time. I can swim good enough now, basically to save my life. But when I was a young kid, I was very bad at swimming. And because of that, I didn't swim. I was scared to. I was scared I was going to drown. I think that's a valid excuse for a lot of beginners when they're first starting out. If you have never swum before, it can be kind of scary and daunting. Also, it's difficult to perform. And this is a good thing and a bad thing. The good reason that this is difficult to perform is because the more inefficient you are during an exercise, the more calories you're going to burn. So that's kind of a neat thing if you think about it. When you are doing a movement, if you're very efficient, like somebody who can run really well, they're going to burn less calories when they do that activity, because they're more efficient. So if you swim and you suck at it and you're flaunting around in the pool, you're going to burn a lot more calories, which can potentially lead to some more weight loss compared to somebody who doesn't. The bad thing about this, the bad thing about swimming, I should say, and the fact that it's difficult to perform is that not many people do it because of that exact reason. As I just discussed kind of with the fear aspect, I didn't want to swim because I sucked at it. And a big part of picking cardio exercise that you enjoy is picking something that you're good at as well. Because if you're good at it, you're going to stick with it long term and you're going to get those good cardiovascular benefits. So if this is giving you some good ideas, please go ahead and give the video a like so far. And we'll keep moving on. So the step aerobics is another really, really good exercise routine that will improve your cardiovascular exercise tremendously. And this is really great because you can add in some group classes, which for a lot of people, they will be able to meet some friends. The music will kind of give you some extra motivation and make you feel really in the groove. And it's one of the lowest barrier things, I think, for some individuals, because you literally go in, they tell you exactly what to do. You're literally just shadowing somebody in the class, and you can kind of just chill out at the back of the class, not really think much about it, and just get your workout in, get out. My mom does some of these types of classes, and she really likes them because she meets some friends, she gets out and socializes, she of course gets a good workout in, and they're usually pretty quick, usually about 30 minutes, sometimes an hour if they're longer, but lots of good variations. The tough part of step aerobics is some gyms don't actually have step aerobics classes, but the good thing is that there are some online variations of step aerobics classes. I don't have many of these on my channel. I do have some low impact exercise programs and routines on my channel, though. You can go find those in the playlist on my channel. But moving on to the next one, stationary bike and recumbent bike. I kind of have these two toggled right next to each other. They're very similar exercises. So stationary bike is extremely easy to do. You just get on it, you start pedaling. One of the bad things about it is that it only uses legs, though. So you're not going to be burning as much calories as if you're doing something full body with arms and legs. But if you're somebody with an arm injury, for example, maybe you just had rotator cuff tear, or you just have like a bum shoulder or a bum elbow that doesn't really work that well, the stationary bike can be a great way to kind of still get some good cardio and get some good exercise in, but you're isolating your arm completely and it's not getting any work at all. So it brings you some good exercise without hurting yourself anymore. And another thing about this too, and this goes in line with the recumbent bike, is that they're both kind of boring. It's, you know, you're just pedaling, and since they just stay in the same place, maybe you're lucky and you have a TV, that's a great option. Maybe you get your phone and you watch some Netflix, that's a great option to make it less boring. Some people don't have this and they're literally just staring at a wall or staring at their monitor, watching how many calories are burning. That's tough to do long term, and could potentially be a downside to doing a stationary bicycle. A recumbent bicycle, one of the other things I do want to mention on it is that since you are reclined, you're not going to be working your core quite as much. So you're going to be getting a little less muscle activation compared to if you're on a stationary bike. So if you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, trying to get the most holistically strong body and work your core a little bit as well, you're probably going to be wanting to lean towards that stationary bike because it's going to work your core just a tiny bit. If you are somebody who's actually biking out in public, that's probably going to give you the most benefit. Because you're actually going to be practicing your balance capabilities. The only downside to actually biking outside is that hills are not accounted for, as in you can go down a hill, and guess how much energy you are using when you're going down a hill? None. But on the flip side, when you go up a hill, you're using an incredible amount of energy. It's very, very tough to do. When you're on a recumbent bike or stationary bike, it's basically smooth sailing all the way through, unless of course you throw in some different types of exercise, or I should say intervals or hills or etc. The elliptical is another great option. Usually most of the time you do need gym access for the elliptical. This one does use your arms and legs. One of the downsides, there's a couple actually downsides, it doesn't really burn a lot of calories. Since it's extremely low impact and a very fluid motion, it just doesn't seem to burn quite as much energy. It doesn't take as much oomph to actually do the movement, which can be good for some people, especially if they're first starting out. The other thing about it is that it's a very unnatural movement. So if you've ever gotten an elliptical and maybe you're a little shorter, maybe you're a little taller, and you start cranking on it and you're like, oh my gosh, like these arms are way out of place, or like I can't even reach my legs over into the holster, right? That's kind of a concern that a lot of people deal with when they're looking at an elliptical. It's a very unnatural movement. Walking, probably one of my favorite forms of cardiovascular low impact exercise for beginners, is great because it's free, incredibly easy to do. You can scale it in a bunch of different ways. And what I mean by this is you could add a backpack onto your back. You could start walking a little bit, and guess what? You're going to now be doing more work than if you were just doing a normal walk without the backpack. You can do an incline walk on a treadmill. That makes it much harder. You can do an incline walk outside. If you're feeling like you just want to go for a casual walk, you can just do a very light walk one day. It's highly functional. You do this activity throughout your daily life numerous times, and you can make it into a good cardio exercise too, where you get your heart rate up if you get a little bit quicker, or maybe add some weight or an incline. Lots of great options. Last but not least is, of course, a weight circuit. This is where you pick a bunch of light weights with no rest on specific exercises. And basically when we do this, we combine weights and cardio. So for an example, you might do like a goblet squat where you're holding a dumbbell at your chest. You do a goblet squat for 10 repetitions. Then you're gonna go do some body weight rows on one of those rowing TRX cables. Then maybe you're gonna do some box jumps. And you just do this in a circuit for 15 minutes. You're not resting in between. And guess what? At the end of that, you're getting in some good muscular work. You're getting in some cardio because your heart rate's going to be elevated the whole time. Really good bang for your buck. Extremely low impact as well. And that's the other great thing about that one is it's a huge time saver if you are restricted on time and don't have a lot of other basically time for exercise. So give this video a like if that gave you some good ideas for your exercise.